So in the last video I already talked about what it means to be a third culture kid, right? But now let's be more specific. What does it mean to be a British Indonesian? Like I've said before, Indonesians aren't that common in the northeast of England and probably in the UK overall. These are from the most recent stats in 2011. Apparently there's only 8,000 Indonesian born residents living in England, 212 in Wales, 679 in Scotland and 74 in Northern Ireland. I mean, I would like to think that there's a little bit more now in 2019. But anyway, what I can say is I've definitely grown up with some unique experiences growing up as an Indonesian here in Newcastle. But even if you're not Indonesian and you come from another Asian background, maybe some of this stuff might relate to you as well. The first thing about being British Indonesian is that I got given a nickname called the BULE Indonesian. What that means is in Indonesia we have this term called BULE, and that basically translates to white people. Normally locals would use it, and whenever they see any white Western tourists, then they'd shout out BULE, BULE. So yeah, I got called BULE because I may have an Indonesian face, but once people start hearing me talk, then they'll realize, oh yeah, he's a BULE. People are always asking me if I'm from Bali. Alright, I get it. Bali is the most well-known, the most touristy part of Indonesia. Everyone goes there for their Instagram posts. They want to get pictures by the beach, or by the rice farms, or by the volcano, with the monkeys in the jungles. But you gotta understand that Bali is only one island in Indonesia, and the whole country itself is absolutely massive. So you can understand why I find it annoying when people just ask me if I'm from Bali, because that's the only place they know. And if you do decide to go there on holiday, you'll soon realize you see more Aussies around the streets as opposed to actual locals. The third thing about being British Indonesian is that people always think I'm either Chinese or Filipino. Alright, for starters, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being Chinese or Filipino. All my Asian brothers and sisters are cool. But you can understand it does get pretty irritating for me when people only assume that there's only two types of Asians, Chinese and Filipino. But at the same time, I can actually understand from their perspective as well, because you'll understand if you're Asian. You can actually tell between the different types of Asian what they look like based on looks only. The fourth thing about being British Indonesian is that people are always shocked when you tell them you're a Muslim. You see, I'm quite surprised with this one because Indonesia is actually a Muslim majority country, and it's actually the most populated Muslim country on earth. So it's actually quite strange for me when people's reactions when we tell them we're Muslim is that they're normally mind blown. But the more I think about it, I think it's because most people's perception of a Muslim is normally they're either from like a South Asian or an Arabic descent, and then they'd be wearing traditional Muslim clothes, and then they'd be a bit darker. But because Indonesia is more of an Oriental Eastern country, like they don't really associate like people of our ethnic groups with Islam. But yeah, you learn something new every day. Number 5, we normally get asked if we have a rivalry between Malaysia. Okay, so we do have a lot of similarities with Malaysia, whether that's food, whether that's people, climate. Our languages are like 60% similar to each other, so I can like half understand and half speak Malay. But all in all, I'd say we have a pretty strong relationship with our Malay cousins. That's until we get into a discussion about which food originates where. And speaking of food, number 6 of being British Indonesian, we get complimented on our food. For a lot of British people, when you ask them what they think of Indonesian food, a lot of them will think, well, they've never had it, they've never seen it, they don't know what it's like. But if you actually start cooking something for them, from my personal experience when I've introduced my British friends to Indonesian food and I've cooked stuff for them, when I've taken them to Indonesian restaurants, normally their reactions are that they absolutely love it. And it's not like anything they've ever tasted before. To me, I would say it's kind of like a combination between Indian and Chinese food, because like Indonesia's right in the middle in between them, Southeast Asia, so it's like kind of both of them fused together in a way. Okay, I may be biased here, but Indonesian food is well good, and you should definitely hook yourself up with some. Number 7, people not thinking Indonesian is Asian. Alright, when I say that sentence, it sounds pretty stupid now. But at school, when I tell people I'm Asian, people will be like, you're not Asian. Then I'm like, well then what am I? And then they'd be like, I don't know, in the other category? It's because in the UK, the term Asian is normally referred to South Asians like Indian, Bengalis, Pakistanis, and then Chinese would be its own category, which is pretty weird in my opinion. It's just like we're all in the same continent. India, China, Bangladesh, Indonesia, it's all in Asia, so we're all Asian. But yeah, I remember one time at school I had to fully justify to someone that I was actually Asian to explicitly show them on a map that Indonesia is in Asia, and Wikipedia that Indonesia is an Asian country. Speaking Indonesian in awkward situations when I don't want people to understand what I'm saying. Alright, so I'm guilty here. I've done this a lot. Both my family and my friends do this a lot. If we're ever in an awkward situation, we don't want any non-Indonesians to understand, we just switch languages, and then people will be wondering, what are they talking about? But it doesn't even matter because they don't understand us. We could be saying good stuff for all they know, and it's pretty useful being able to speak another language in awkward situations. Indonesians can tell that I'm not a normal Indonesian. And what that basically means is, like I said before, when people start hearing me talk in my accent, they can tell I'm not a normal Indonesian. And it's just like my mannerisms, the way I act, my behavior, the way I dress. It's just like, they can tell I'm westernized and they can tell I'm not like your average normal Indonesian. And that normally happens in friendship groups. I remember at uni, when I went to approach an Indonesian group of international students, like I wanted to hang out with them and like experience my culture as well. But then they can kind of tell that, he's not like a proper Indonesian, like he's a local from the UK. Third culture kid problems, but whatever, watch that video, I'm not going to explain that again. The 10th and last thing about being British Indonesian is that I'm light for an Indonesian. Yep, you heard me right, I said it pretty bluntly. Just look at me. Normally, like the average Indonesian would be much darker and more tanned than I am. But I think the reason I'm quite light for an Indonesian is mostly because I haven't been exposed to the tropical heat living over there, and my whole life living in the UK I've just been surrounded by rain, cold weather, wind, and gloomy, cloudy, British weather. And that has been 10 things about me about growing up as a British Indonesian. I hope you did find this video interesting and you got a bit more of an insight about being Indonesian in the UK. So in the comments below, I want to know about your struggles about growing up and where you live in the UK. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm out. Have a good one.